So today's my presentation is about the loading protocols. So what is I'd like to start with the goals of implant treatment first. So there may be two goals. The first goal is on the result, and the second goal should be on the process. Of course, the result is very important. All the implant treatments should be finished with the nice function and good aesthetics. But process is also very important, as you know. So we are aiming to do minimal invasive surgery, and also we are trying to finish the cases as soon as possible with a fast loading. And for the minimal invasive surgery, so actually we are trying to approach with guided and pelvic surgery. So, and for the fast loading techniques, we are using the CAD/CAM techniques and digital dentistry and also early and immediate loading techniques. From the literatures, we can learn a lot, but so on the immediate loading concepts, I found that something was missed, something was wrong still. So from the literatures, we have hundreds of articles, important articles about the loading concepts. But the majority of immediate loading studies reported a similar success rate when compared to the traditional two-stage approach. How do you think? Do you agree with this conclusion? I don't think so. Why? Then, if we agree, if we accept these studies as true, so why we don't try immediate loading in every cases? Still, we are waiting quite long after implant placement. In my mind, there are two important things, two hurdles to try the immediate loading in every case. The first thing, it's not easy to make provisionals at the chest side, especially multiple implant cases. And we think we're going to have more failures compared to the delayed loading. Do you agree? And there are two essential keys for the immediate loading. The one is the initial stability. Absolutely, we should be able to have excellent initial stability to try immediate loading or early loading. And the occlusal force is very important and not easy to control 100%. Yes, this is not my topic. Occlusal force control is not my topic today. So initial stability is one of the basic factors, as you know. What is the important things? Again, even we can get a very good initial stability with the implant placement, sometimes we have failures because of this graph. This graph was made from 100 different articles. So this graph shows the average. Even at the high quality, very nice quality alveolar bone, we have recessions, decrease on the implant stability after implant placement for 3 or 4 weeks. So because of this, we can assure the initial stability we get during the surgery. So because of this decrease on the ISQ, we tried for the 2 or 3 decades the immediate loading on the mandibular anterior area and the full mouth cases and the oral 4 or maxillary anterior cases, so selective cases only because of this. So we tried this in many cases, full arch implant with enough sufficient number of implant fixtures. This is really good. Everybody can do this. So we can make a very nice initial stability, and then immediate provisionalization will be very easy, can withstand the occlusal force sufficiently. And the anterior area, so we do. Everybody, I believe, everybody in this room, we are doing this kind of immediate loading and immediate provisionalizations because we don't need to worry about the occlusal force that much. How about these cases? Can we do this? Can we try immediate loading in this case? At the mandibular second molar single missing case. Actually, we don't need to try immediate loading, but if you can have something to make the immediate loading successful in every case. So why we don't do this? So second week post-op and 6 week finished. How about this? Maxillary first molar single missing case. After implant placement, this lady had the bilateral missings. So she wanted to have teeth at least a single side. So on the right side, there was sinus pneumatizations, so we have to wait longer. So here, fortunately, on the left side, there was inner bone and the inner width and the inner height of bone. So I placed implants, and stability was good. There was no bone defect, so I took impression immediately after surgery, delivered the custom abutment and the full functioning temporary crown. 1 week later, on the single posterior, maxillary, posterior missing cases, and 3 months, finished, and nothing happened. How do you think? How do you feel? You feel comfortable with this kind of treatment, or you feel scary? Not easy, right? Maybe you don't want to accept my concepts. To make more immediate loading cases with confidence, we should change our fear to the face with some definitive criteria and guidelines. If you can have some definitive criteria and then some guidelines on the surgical techniques, and we can sure. So we can have more confidence on the immediate loading. I have two criteria, very simple. Initial insertion torque value, which is insertion torque value, initial stability, which means so insertion torque value more than 45 Newton centimeter, and ISQ more than 75. This is my criteria for to do or not to do immediate loading. And again, we have a problem here. This is just a static, only one-time numbers. So we cannot sure. If we cannot sure the plateau or increase on the ISQ value, stability we got during the surgery, we cannot try immediate loading that much often, right? So the ISQ should be like this, should make a plateau or should show increase without decrease like this from 100 different articles. How we can make this? How we can sure? How we can make the higher insertion torque value and the no decrease on ISQ? This should be found from the implant system, implant designs, not only for the surgical techniques. We tried many surgical options, but in some, like the less drillings, smaller osteotomy sockets, and tapered designs. So we tried, but sometimes it can work, but sometimes it doesn't work. But if we can have very nice implant systems, it will be very much helpful. Then, as we have, as you know, we have 100 different kinds of implant systems in the world. This is only a small part of the implant system we can use. Which implant system can make initial stability more than 45, sometimes 60, so sometimes 70? Which system can give us ISQ more than 75 in almost every case? Yes. From the textbook, we learned if we use more than 25 or 35 Newton centimeter during implant placement, the bone can be necrotized. We learned. How do you think? What is your maximum torque force with your implant systems? So I did. I also did not to try more than 40 Newton centimeter torque force. So I placed and drive it back and placed again to minimize the insertion torque force. But I changed my mind. If we can make very nice implant systems, which can make more than 45 Newton centimeter in most cases, and ISQ more than 75 will be very nice. So our group in Korea, like Team Eureka R2, we try to design a new implant systems, biologically designed with the biological concepts. So it looks quite weird, quite strange. But every corner of this implant system has biological meanings. In every corner, not only some part. And then, among this knife-threaded design can give us a lot of advantages. The first advantage is totally different ISQ patterns. It never shows decrease on ISQ patterns. So what this means? When we had a very nice initial stability, then we can trust. No need to worry about the decrease, even at the loose bone. A big change. And also, this knife thread made a very strong insertion torque value. Not like the rescue implant system we had before, some years ago. So even at the D4 bone, loose bone, this implant system can make almost a 435, or sometimes 40 Newton centimeter torque force at D4 bone. How good it is. And one more design concept on this implant system is fixture versus core diameter. This implant system has 10 different diameters, but actually, I can say it has 3 different diameters. So on the 35 has a 2.9, from 4 to 5.5. Core diameter is 3.3. From 6 to 8, the core diameter is same, it has 4.8. What is important? What is the advantage of design concept? Before this enrich, I used the conventional threaded implant, conventional shape of thread on the implants. At that time, when we had different bone types from our patients, so we usually made the same size of osteotomy sockets, and we placed the same size of implant, then definitely we have different initial stability. At the D1 and D4 bone, initial stability will be much better than D4 bone, right? And what we can do in this case, the only thing we can do is wait long. It's a lesson from the recommendations and the guide from Dr. Brandmark about 30 years ago, 40 years ago, actually. So we waited longer at the maxillary posterior, and we started prosthetics earlier on the mandibular cases. And what we can change with this design concept, so during implant placement and during osteotomy sockets procedures, we can feel the difference of bone density. Then we can choose different thread depths. So my body is same, body size is same. And if the bone density is not good enough, so I can stretch my arms into the bone to get more stability. So after making same osteotomy socket, you have to feel the bone density. As an implantologist, as a dentist, we know the bone density. Then you can choose different thread depths. And that you can make almost same, not exactly same, but almost same initial stability as you want. Then this can be explained as this almost the same bone implant context. So no need to wait longer at the loose bone. If you can get the same initial stability and the same bone implant context. So this is a very simple case. So from the same site, so you can see different bone density. You can guess different bone density from the radiopacity. So definitely the second premolar has denser bone than the second molar, as you see, right? Do you agree? So how you can solve? So in this case, we need to follow the most loose bone, right, to start the prosthetics. But if you can modify, if you can choose different options, so we can start the prosthetics almost at the same time with mandibular implants. This is good advance. So this is a very simple way of surgery. I like this punch techniques. After punch, I made the osteotomy socket up to 3.8 millimeter. I made the same osteotomy sockets, but definitely I felt much less bone density on the second molar. What can we do? We can choose different thread depths, so according to the bone density. So in these three implant site, I chose three different thread depths. Here, the bone density was typical type 3, was good. So 4.0 was good. And here, almost rubbish. It's like a sponge. So I placed the 5.5 through the 3.8 millimeter osteotomy sockets. And then I got almost same initial stability with these implants. Then, of course, we can do one stage approach than the primary closure. This is after surgery, so you can see the different thread depths. Then, prosthetic procedure can be started almost at the same time. No need to wait 6 months. Sorry. This is my fault. Sorry. And this is a case from Dr. Han, one of my colleagues, one of my team. And he had this case. The two central incisors will be extracted and placed with implants immediately. And he did sinus bone graft on both sides of the sinus 4 months ago. 4 months is not enough to make a dense bone. So we can say this condition of bone will be type 4, typical type 4. So normally we wait more than 6 months, right? Sometimes 5 to 6 months. And he made surgery like this. He placed 8 implants. This is after surgery. And this Dr. Han is one of the experts in ISQ. And he recalled the patients every week after surgery and checked the ISQ on each implant. This is number of implants. The numbering system is different from United States and Korea. But this is number 16 is here, number 26 is here. But the important thing is no implants at the loose bone. No implant at the loose bone showed decrease. So all the implants showed the plateau on the ISQ value. This is an important point. And after 9 weeks observations, he made final restoration. This is not temporary. Final restorations in 9 weeks, only 2 months later, at the loose bone. This is another advances, right? And then this is other cases from same Dr. Han. And this is mandibular case. He extracted all the remaining teeth from the mandible and placed 7 implants. So in this case, he checked the ISQ every 2 weeks. Then look at the ISQ numbers. So from the second week, it showed the increase in the ISQ numbers. Normally, from the literature, we know the ISQ should go down to the 4th week. So the 4th week then goes up or make a plateau. But this is totally different. So 4 weeks later, he delivered crowns with the full functioning temporary crowns and finished the case in 4 months, waiting for the healing of extraction sockets. So this is what he is doing, and we learned from him. Even we had 100 cases, more than 1,000 cases of data from Korea. Nobody wants to believe me. So I gave more than 100 times lecture, but no, it's because you are Korean. So I fly to UCLA because I studied in UCLA. So I asked to my professor, Dr. Craigbold, please, let's try the clinical cases, clinical studies. Okay, he accepted my proposal, and then the resident doctors on the resident program did these studies. The study theme is very simple, to compare these two different thread designs. And doctor placed two different implants side by side and measured ISQ from 0 to 8 weeks. 8 weeks in the United States, in the university, with the patients, real patients, not the animal. Then the result was exactly the same we expected. So this implant showed increase. This is a statistics, average. But no patient showed a decrease on ISQ. And this conventional threaded, the 60-degree threaded, 60-degree angulation shaped, threaded implant showed decrease until 4th week and made almost a plateau. This is normal, right? So how we have this kind of different ISQ patterns? So we tried to prove, but the professors in the university said we need a supercomputer and it costs a lot. So okay, just we assumed that this 60-degree implant, conventional threaded implants, press bone during implant insertions, placement. And then these angulations make a compressive forces, and it make a compressive necrosis, some amount of subcompressive necrosis. But the knife-threaded implant, it doesn't press that much. It just cut and displace the bone with minimal compressive forces. So because of this, we don't have decrease on ISQ value. And we finished the design and made the name of this implant system as Enrich. It was launched in 2010, so we can say this is minimally invasive, yet more efficient implant system. But we have to think 2 seconds during your drilling procedure. You have to know how much bone density the patient has. And this Enrich implant system can give us insertion torque value more than 45, ISQ more than 75 in most cases. Of course, when the patient has very serious bone defects, the story can be different. But most cases, you will have this. And more importantly, it will not show decrease on ISQ value. With thousand experience, Dr. Han made the loading protocols with these implant systems. So, and the single implant cases, single missing cases, if you can get ISQ more than 75 and insertion torque more than 45, you can start immediate loading, regardless where it is. On the posterior, upper, lower, anterior, any cases, you can try. Of course, we have to know how to control the occlusal force. What is the occlusal habits, biting habits of the patients? And in multiple cases, we can start immediate loading with -5. ISQ more than 70, insertion torque more than 40, we can start immediate loading because we're going to splint it together. And the full mouth cases, many doctors think this is more difficult, but this is easier. Because the cross-arch is splitting. We will split all the implants together. So we can make a -5 again. So ISQ more than 65, insertion torque more than 30, we can start immediate loading. But many doctors are still afraid. Even we had 1,000 cases. So Dr. Garber introduced our group. So we have 22 mirror hospitals in Korea. And we have 130 dentists and almost 1,000 employees. And we are placing more than 5,000 implants every month. So you can think how much data we can get. So our patients are also precious. So we made very conservative suggestions on the loading time with any rich implant systems. You can follow this. You can trust this. But you have to have some ISQ machines. Any ISQ machine is possible. But on the day of implant placement, you can check ISQ. It takes only 1 minute for implants. And then 1 week later, patient will come back for stitch out. Then you can take ISQ again. And 4 weeks later, patient, you can have one more record. And then if these 3 numbers shows stages or increasing pattern on ISQ numbers, then you can take impressions in 4 weeks. And you can give 2 weeks to your lab technician to make prosthetics. Then you can have one more chance to check ISQ. So you can deliver crown here. 6 weeks is more than enough with this implant, with this concept of loading. So this is very common cases. Single implant missing case, ISQ was 78 at the surgery, and 1 week later was same, 78. 4 weeks later, it was increased to 82. Then it's time to take impression. Nowadays, I'm using intraoral scanner, easy and quick. And 1 week later, 2 weeks later, custom abutment and the PMMA temporary was delivered. Of course, you can try, you can deliver the final restoration. Then, this is another case. The ISQ was 83 on surgery, and then scanning 1 week later, already started to 84. So if you can understand the biology concepts and the ISQ patterns, you can start immediate loading according to the patient conditions. No need to wait 6 weeks, 6 months, or 3 months in average. Sometimes, in some cases, you can start loading in next week. And bigger surface areas for fast loading, this is also important compared with EG Plus systems, which we had before. So 5x10 N-Reach has almost 50% more surface areas and 35% more insertion torque values. So how we can use this advantage? So this patient lost the 1 implant because of peri-implantitis. And this clinical photo was taken 6 weeks later. Soft tissue was healed almost completely. And then, when I opened the flap, I found that the socket was not filled at all, as you expected. So in 6 weeks, it's not enough. And as you see, how much bone we have? Only 1.5 millimeter from the sinus to the bottom of the extraction socket. If we use socket preservation technique or the conventional techniques, how long it will take? Normally, we need 5 or 6 months for the bone regeneration, and then place implants, or 2 or 3 months more. So in total, it would take about 8, 9, or sometimes 10 months to finish. It's a simple case. But if we can make a really good initial stability from this thin bone, then what we can change? So in this case, only 1 thread, the last thread was engaged with the bone on this area, and the stability was good enough. So when we had very good initial stability without the bony walls, this is a circumferential bony defect, like an extraction socket. So very easy to do one-stage approach with a simple bone graft and a simple collagen membrane coverage. This is after surgery. And 4 months later, prosthetics started. So initial stability is very much interesting. It's like this. And with this implant designs, we developed one more project named as Eureka R2. Eureka R2 means second renaissance in implant dentistry. And underneath, we had the, 3 themes. Let's formulate a system for diagnosis and treatment. And this is software and one-day implants. And we are still trying to make the 3D printing technology for the insufficient reach. And as a result, we developed R2 Gate, the software. R2 Gate means the gate to make you enter into the second renaissance of the implant dentistry. Then we try to find out the hidden DNA, hidden digital DNA from the CBCT. And in 2010, the merging technique was not popular, even with the materialized and the Nobel guide systems. The merging was not popular. So we were one of the first. So we tried to merge all the important digital data into one. Then so we could see the patient's condition much better. So from these merged data, so we not only for the diagnosis and the treatment planning, we can extrude the very valuable STL file to make a surgical stent and the prosthetics whenever we need. And one more important thing is bone densities. So from the CBCT, so we cannot differentiate the bone density that much accurately. So we developed a digital eye function on the art gate, and from the art, black and white images, we converted it into the colors. So from the digital black and white, we can differentiate only 19 different degrees of black and white. But from the colors, we can differentiate more than 200 different densities. So not only just the imaginations, we can calculate it, how much bone this implant can meet together during implant placement. And we can evaluate the performance of immediate loading is good or not. Or our guys will give you a recommendation what kind of drilling technique is good for the cases. So at the loose bone, we can make under drilling. So for hard bone, we have to have bigger drillings. Of course, this case is favorable for the one-day implants, immediate loading, but this case is not so good, right? So I need only 5 minutes more, sorry. So this is one-day implant cases. The first one-day implant cases I did in 2010. So this patient had root fractures on the first premolar, and he had recessions also extracted. Implant was placed with the guided surgery, and bone graft was made for the extraction sockets, and this was customized abutment made before surgery. Before surgery, then for the utilization, I made a semi-lunar connective tissue graft, and then this is final restorations made before surgery. So everything was delivered at once. 5 months and 4 years later, nothing happens. So we call this immediate loading, but I try to add one more sentence, one more word. This is true immediate loading. In the future, still we don't have very accurate CBCT. Will become much better. So when we have very nice CBCT, this kind of treatment will be more and more popular. And this is the one of the latest cases in this year. So the patient had the 2 teeth missing here, and I prepared the surgical stent, and this is a custom abutment. This is not temporary. You can make temporary, but this I tried the final restorations. And the surgery is very simple, as you know, only 2 small holes, and placed after implant placement, I connected this is customized abutment, and this is final restoration. This is end of surgery. It takes only 20 minutes. Then this is really minimally invasive surgery and the 1 day final process. How we can do this? Simple. Nothing to do. That's nothing. That's so many things to do. So just take CBCT, take impressions for model, send to ultrasound center. Then when you have these images from your to your email, then you can make confirmations. If you like the position and the concept of prosthetics, you can confirm. Then you will have surgical stent and the custom abutment and the final or temporary crown in a few days. This is the last case I showed to you. But Oron 4 concept is worldwide. Everybody loves Oron 4. But four implants is not enough, I think. So we like to place more implants. So we developed the new word, R2D4, R2D6. So Oron 4 based on R2 gate. So in this case, the patient had the extraction and the huge pneumatization on the both bilateral sinus, and we tried to place 6 implants like this. And from the R2 gate, the treatment plan was finished. And the important thing is the anterior 4 is not very difficult, but this is very difficult, right? So we have to have placed exactly, very accurately, according with the same line of the anterior wall of the sinus. The opposite side was like this. And from the digital eye, we evaluated the bone density, how much initial stability we can make. If the bone density is not so good, then we have to delay the loading protocol. So let's see the video in 2 minutes. So everybody, the guided surgery is very popular nowadays. The most important step is to fixate the surgical stent at the right positions. So many doctors, including our group, are trying to make this process easier, but still we have to fixate the surgical stent like this. And when you fixate the surgical stent at the right position, everything will be very easy. So the step-by-step drilling will be made to place implants. The drilling process, the drilling protocol is basically like endodontic preparation. So step-back preparations. So you can get, then you can get more initial stability. This 4x13 was planned. And there are many ways to place implants, to fixate implants. And see, so in this video, I'd like to show one point. So how much torque force we are doing here? Almost more than 70 Newton centimeter torque force. Maybe you will afraid of bone necrosis, but never happen. Sometimes I do 100 Newton centimeter with implant placement, then nothing happens. So let's shorten the video. Then this is after surgery. So you can see how precisely these implants were placed, just in front of anterior wall of the sinus. So I hope you can turn your ideas on the immediate placement with R2 gate and these implant systems. This is what the patients dismissed. So with temporary denture was also printed out or milled with 3D printing and the CAD scans. And during the 1 year, from January 2013 to January 2014, in our group, we treated 1,100 patients and placed 2,500 implants through the stent, and among them, almost half of the implants were loaded immediately, including single to multiple to full mouth cases, and only 1.8, 1% 28 implant was failed. So I'd like to advise you. Dr. Bredmark was like a god of the implant system, implant treatment, right? And he made loading protocols starting from 90 days to 180 days. But if you can change, if you can find the good implant systems, you can reduce the loading time. Then, with the guided surgeries, you can start one-day implants. So you can start loading at the same time. Thank you very much.